Welcome everyone to the Fireside Chat with Patrick Tricoli, CEO, Nanobiotix US and Global Head of Business Development. I'm looking forward to this discussion. One of many that we've had, Patrick. Hello, welcome. I'm Jeff Bockman. I'm EVP. I lead the oncology practice at Cello Health BioConsulting, previously Defined Health. So, this is an IO-centric forum. We're seeing clearly a phenomenal amount of activity in the space, in particular in oncology and in IO. And in fact, in some recent analytics that we've done, not only is the kind of trend for deal making and investment and startups reasserting itself in IO, but also just the amount of deal making and early preclinical deal making is really phenomenal, with just the latest announced today between Agenus and BMS. So clearly, it's not to do anything to disparage precision medicine and small molecules, but a lot of what's going on in immuno-oncology is being driven by biologics. Clearly, there are other approaches, and Nanobiotix has a very unique approach, and I think it might be interesting to hear about that during the course of this discussion. So maybe, Patrick, you can talk a little bit about kind of how you see yourselves and what your plans are kind of fitting into this highly active and very flush space of oncology and immuno-oncology in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. I would say, first to start, I think what is important to mention is we're getting into a quite intense segment with the company. Recently, we've been announcing earlier last few days a deal with Lion Bio, and we also going to have ASCO and some interesting update coming up. So on both cases, I think it's a good illustration of where the company is going. And before talking about exactly more about this modality, which is quite specific, why those two news are getting into showing the direction of a company. I would say the first one is with Lion Bio, it's first a deal that give us access to which is an evolution on the Asia Pacific access we used to have, and now focusing on China specifically, and the access of and capacity to bring our innovation to Chinese patients as well. It is also interesting because it's an illustration of how we want to accelerate and expand what can be done with our product. And in that case, Lion Bio will join us in our phase 3 in head and neck, and also is committed to join us in 4 additional registration trials. So which is including IO. And to your point of the IO, we cannot neglect that today China is also playing a significant role in the arena of IO in general, PD-1 in particular. It used to be a time where we were thinking that China was following. I would say this deal is showing also the appetite for innovation that is in the China field. So agnostic and combo is what we're going to do with Lion Bio as well. I have to also indicate that we're dealing with a company which is multicultural, China and American. So it's also very interesting for the perspective of the company. In terms of ASCO, it's where we're expecting to communicate and update major piece, the head and neck trial on our population, which is a population without a lot of therapeutic options. Will be discussed. Of course, we focus on OR and complete response rate as well on this one. We will also update a very important trial we have, and that's obviously link us again on immuno-oncology, which is this basket trial with head and neck patient, naive or responder or non-responder, but also metastatic liver and metastatic lung. So we are very, very excited by seeing how this capacity to transform non-responder into responder is confirmed. The durability and if we keep seeing some abscopal signal. So that's one of the two major topics. In addition, we will look at the long-term safety on our sarcoma trial. That was the one who helped us to get our first registration. And eventually, we will also actually investigator talking about the journey of our product from bedside to bedside, particularly focusing on IO combination.
So let's unpack that a little bit. That's a lot for people to process, and I think in particular, given that this is a fairly unique type of approach, and even though you might call it a radio enhancer, it does some very unique things ultimately not only to the tumor, but clearly in the tumor microenvironment. So given that that's where a lot of the efforts now are being focused in terms of combinations relative to use of checkpoints, either with or subsequent to either extend responses and durability upfront in responders, or to get non-responders, whether that's primary or acquired resistance to respond to a checkpoint inhibitor. All sorts of approaches clearly are being used that are targeting the TME, are targeting the innate or adaptive or interface of both of those. So maybe you can just orient people a little about what we might call Nanobiotix approach being somewhat orthogonal, if you will.
Yeah, orthogonal approach, definitely. And let's rewind a little bit because physics is getting into the game here. At Nanobiotix is basically what we try to do is to leverage nanophysics in the heart of a cell and to a maximum of impact on different therapeutic areas. And we start with oncology, obviously, here. It's linked also with radiation. What is important to remind is that among the pillar for the patient, again, radiation is not neglectable. Far to be 60% of the patient will receive radiation. And yes, you mentioned radio enhancer. It can be called that also radio immunoenhancer. Actually, it's what we've been able to see now. And the team is working hard to keep exploring this piece, but it's important. So we are nanoparticle based, which is injected once intratumoral, and which is an on-off effect because it's activated by radiation. So already we know that radiation is largely used in first line and beyond, but largely used in first line. And here we have an opportunity of an agnostic approach by definition. What we've been able to show and what we are seeing every day more and more is also the combination agnostic approach of this radio enhancer. Here we're talking about something that can have a potential to become potentially a pillar in IO if we develop that quite extensively in different type of indication and different type of modality of combo.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to also emphasize, and maybe you can expand on this a little for the audience to understand, is that although this is working via or activated via radiation, the behavior, the biologic consequences are clearly distinct, both in quality and quantity from just radiation alone. And that's even taking into account, administering radiation in different ways. So maybe you can talk a little about kind of what unique things you are seeing with NBTXR3.
Clearly, actually, with radiation, we've been seeing basically with this modality, when you ask basically a radio oncologist or a patient as well, by the way, what are the limitations of radiation? You want to increase the local control. You want to increase the systemic control, and you want to decrease the toxicity. That's what we intend to do with our product here. And that's how we've been pushing the development. And I'll be back to that maybe later. But in terms of impact on IO, it's been quite obvious for us that following this very intense period of scientific activity and clinical trials combination with radiation, there was something to investigate more properly to see what are the added value that a product can bring like this one, but also what can be different here. And beyond the obvious first step, where basically showing the immune cell death, the DAMS immune cell death, we've been able to see that the product as such has also an impact on abscopal effect, which has been remaining a kind of myth for radiation alone. And those were very interesting. We've been showing CD8, CD68 mediated impact effect. We've been seeing also through collaboration with both MD Anderson or Cornell, a STING-activated pathway, and to also, when it was time to try the combination potential with PD-1, naturally, we've been able to see a real significant impact on a model which is resistant to PD-1 at MD Anderson we've been working on, where actually we've been able to show an increase on the local control, but also the abscopal effect significantly here. That lead to an increased survival. So that was key element that has been complemented by additional combination with LAG-3, with TIGIT also, and also with anti-CTLA-4. Overall, what is different here is something that we're currently exploring, but we've been also already seeing that we trigger a gene activation pattern which is different than the one you can expect from RT and PD-1. So that's also something that is interesting. We do better than the radiation as such, but we do also different.
That's great. Yes, and I think, maybe, and I know you've some of this will be coming out in more detail at ASCO, but there have been some interim readouts, and maybe you can talk a little more about kind of the clinical benefits. You alluded to these at the beginning, but this idea of being able to expand the responsiveness of the checkpoint patients, the checkpoint naive patients, and to get non-responders. So whether that's, non-responders out the gate, so primary refractory, or those that, ultimately progress, to be able to get some of those patients to be able to respond is, one of several of the key IO holy grails. So maybe you can discuss that a little more.
Yeah, I would say I would start with two elements, however, before getting into the impact on the non-responder patient refractory, is basically first the safety. We're dealing with a product that has been demonstrated to be particularly safe. So that means in a combo world it's a key element that needs to be put out there compared to all the type of combo, including obviously the IO combo. But beyond all chemo impact is also something that we watch particularly here. But two is certainly the single agent activity. It is certainly an element that we need to remind here. And with the specificity to be tumor histologically and phenotypically, genotypically agnostic, we have this capacity to impact a large set of solid tumor as such. So that's put us in a good situation for that. Now that we've been able to demonstrate, and the first element in clinics, we've been communicated at SITC last year, we're showing actually for those non-responder, a very, very significant part of them, even if it's still low number in terms of patient, responding, including some significant response, even complete response. We've been seeing also late response, which is very encouraging of this IO impact, actually.
That's great. So I want to start to tie in some of the unique attributes here with the issue that many of our biotech clients face is kind of standing out amidst the noise, right? I mean, there's just an intense amount of of competition, particularly going after these checkpoint refractory, again, whether that's primary or acquired. I mean, I think the CRI data is something like 3,500 plus combination trials ongoing right now. That's not only a lot of competition in recruitment, that's a lot of patients that are being enrolled in a lot of trials with experimental agents whose, let's say, translational support may be somewhat iffy. Clearly, you have a phenomenal amount of both preclinical and translational support here. But even so, I'd be curious to hear kind of how you're finding it kind of standing out amidst the noise, amidst all these types of agents. You alluded to some of them. There's specific STING and TLR agents and DAMPs and PAMPs, not to mention next generation checkpoints or co-stims, all the bispecifics, the deal again like Agenus and BMS did today on a TIGIT PD-1 bispecific. So how are you finding kind of positioning your unique story and this unique agent, in the face of all this activity and noise?
Yeah, I think first of all, we're leveraging physics. So that's put us a bit differently. When you focus on one pathway, at the end of the day, you focus on only one pathway. And your biological pathway, you can predict it's going to go there, but that's all it's going to do. Here we are a much broader spectrum, and we're leveraging all what is possible. That's one. So that's lead us to the agnostic approach, obviously. I would say also we capitalize on what we've been saying that radiation can do in combo, and we have a much better understanding of what works and what doesn't in the IO-RT world. So here we can certainly on many aspects, leverage those components. I would say some of the pharma companies has been really working hard in that field. We have a product that can really leverage the fundamental basis, but go much further than that. So that's the differentiation factors. We're using different, I would say, attributes to move on. For example, our alliance with MD Anderson is one of them. We will conduct additional trial in the re-radiation field, but also in the combo with PD-1 on head and neck, which is a sweet spot. What we try to do will be here the recurrent and metastatic patient, and particularly the one with a low PD-1, limited PD-1 expression, I should say. So that's how you want. But we have the intention to also discuss with companies and develop appropriate combination. So we talk about PD-1, which is obviously, but here again, anti-CTLA-4, TIGIT, LAG-3 is also something that can help us to differentiate because we have this potential. Not everybody's got it. And beyond IO, we also have potential of combo. Even if we were not able to generate a lot of supporting data yet, DDR and CAR-T are certainly also an next frontier for her. You can, and as a scientist, I know you can figure it out intuitively the science behind this. It's a world that is there that we need to go, and to do that we need to expand, we need to accelerate. So we need also to make the best possible partnership to make this happen, and to really bring this innovation to the maximum of patients. It is very important for Nanobiotix. It is very important for everyone within this company, a lot of people in this industry. But for us, it is key that we want to make sure we bring as fast as possible this innovation to a maximum of patients. So that's also how we differentiate ourselves, which is enlarging this portfolio of indication and enlarging this portfolio of combination.
That's great. So you're harnessing physics, you're getting this pleiotropic type of effect. It is tumor agnostic, it is combination agnostic, it has single agent activity. It's a one-time administered, albeit it's intratumoral, and it has abscopal/radscopal/systemic IO modulating effect. So it seems, very, very appealing and attractive. So in the remaining 30 seconds, what's next? You just did the Lion Bio deal. What's next for Nanobiotix?
What's next for Nanobiotix is to make sure we, again, as I mentioned, deliver the potential of this product and work with the best people, being, the best MD community, the best industry community, healthcare industry community, to make it happen. So that's key for us. And to do it live will be great, that we miss that.
All right, great. All right, so any other thoughts or comments? I think we have a little bit of extra time, but if there's anything you want to add, Patrick?
Very nice to have you again and to have a chat with you. on this. You've been associated to. You've been one of a witness of this evolution of a company.
In the early days.
In the early days, and I think it's important. And we've been starting this venture of focus of IO at the time that IO was popping up. Also, not to run after IO, but basically because we had a role to play. So I remember those early days on the 2015 and 16 when we figured out it's been a journey. At the end of the day, as we all know in IO, it's what the outcome of clinic, which is matter. So that's what we're looking for is obviously the next communication at ASCO about the data.
Great. Well, we wish you luck, and we also wish the best for the patients with the program. And with no further ado, I guess we'll adjourn this fireside chat. So thank you very much, Patrick. And
thanks, Jeff.
Organizers. Take care.